Hey there, everyone. Welcome to our final live during the Arts Integration Certification Enrollment period. I'm Susan Riley, the founder of the Institute for Arts Integration and STEAM, and I'm so glad to be with you today because certification enrollment is closing on Monday. And what better way and time to submit your application than over the weekend when you have some time to sit down, really give it some thought, and consider all of the possibilities that exist for you. Now, if you were with us at any of our other lives, you'll know that I've already done a whole session on common cues, common questions, and provided some of those answers. So if you've got questions on tuition, payment structure, grad credits, international versus US, how long the program is, whether it's self-paced, all of these things, watch training number 1. We'll go ahead and link to that in the comments after this broadcast so that you can kind of make sure that you have all of your questions answered before you fill out that application. Also, if you're curious about are there careers and jobs for this, I did a training about that on Tuesday. I would invite you to go back and look at that one if you've missed it, because I get to highlight so many of our certification grads and the possibilities that exist for arts integration specialists out there. So if you've missed either of those trainings, you can always go back and watch. Today, we're going to talk about 5 myths that circulate around arts integration and arts integration certification in particular that I would like to just have die. Can we just have them stop at this point? I've been doing this work for almost 20 years now. These myths just seem to perpetuate. And so we're going to talk about what they are. I wonder if you believe any of these things and hold them into your mind as a cautionary tale. Hopefully, after our time together today, you won't feel that way. You will understand that they really are myths and the incredible possibilities that exist for arts integration specialists. So let's dive in. Okay, so misconception number 1, and this is the biggest one. I'm not even going to save the biggest one for the end. I'm just going to put it right out there. The biggest misconception is that arts integration is meant to replace arts educators, and that could not be further from the truth. So if you go onto our Instagram feed over the last 7 days, you'll see a lot of conversations around this particular question. I think maybe I fielded 30 different comments, questions, concerns about this particular topic. And I get it. It can be scary to think about, you have training as an arts educator. You have discrete skills to teach children for art's sake, correct? And this feels like something that administrators could take and use to replace you and replace your program with something that might dilute it. And so I hear that. I totally hear that. And as a music educator myself, this was certainly on my mind as we began our arts integration efforts at my very first school. But I can tell you right now that could not be further from the truth. And so if this is a concern for you, I really want you to go to our certification page. I've linked it here on the broadcast, artsintegration.com/certification. I would like you to look at specifically all of the things that we're going to be training arts integration specialists in. We're not training them to take any arts educator's job. In fact, we truly believe that arts integration cannot exist without dedicated arts professionals, without certified arts educators who are teaching arts skills explicitly during their time with students. So that means that arts educators actually become the most valuable players in an arts integration effort. Because, and here's why this works and why this is. In order for arts integration to happen, it needs to be used in application of learning, right? So if we're going to be connecting a math concept and an art concept, you can't go into that arts integrated lesson not having a background in either of those 2 topic areas, right? Like, this can't be the first time that I'm going to teach you numerator and denominator and fractions if I'm putting an arts integrated lesson together. This has to be an application of the learning that I've already done with you in terms of numerator and denominator, right? The same is true for the arts area. So if I'm connecting fractions with, I don't know, perhaps Kandinsky's work, and I'm going to take a look at fractions and how they appear in shapes in Kandinsky's work, I can't do that unless my students have had the opportunity to look at Kandinsky before this time and to understand the background of that and how to observe a piece of artwork. That happens in the arts class. The same could be said if I'm combining music and math, or music and literacy, right? Like, I can't ask my students to use quarter notes, whole notes, eighth notes if they haven't been taught that previous to now. That just extends the lesson. It makes it messy, and the connections are not there. So all the results that we get with arts integration, that we're touting arts integration has all of these amazing results, that happens when students have background information in the two topics you're putting together, and those two topic areas make a natural connection and a strong lesson together. So in order for arts integration to really work, you have to have arts educators and discrete arts time, which means we're not pulling students from an arts class in order to get them to do an arts integrated lesson. And we're not substituting an arts integration class for an arts education class, right? Because the students need to go to those classes in order to learn those skills so that they can then apply them later on. Now, where does arts integration happen? Arts integration can happen in the arts class. It can happen in the classroom. It can happen between the classes. There are so many possibilities for how the container of an arts integrated lesson can look, but it does not replace dedicated arts time and skills. So, busting that myth right now, if that has been what has been making you afraid, please don't, because the way that we teach this, I guarantee you'll work collaboratively with each other. You build respect for one another's content areas and each other as teachers. And you work together to build these lessons. So it's so collaborative and a wonderful opportunity to see each other as professionals and work together rather than as competing classes, right, that are fighting for time together and planning and all of that other stuff that we deal with, right? This becomes much more collaborative. Okay, down from my soapbox on that one, but hopefully that dispelled that myth for you. Myth number 2. Certification doesn't matter. I'm already doing this. I've been doing this for 20 years. I don't need to get certified. Okay, let me talk about this one, and I'm going to be really, really frank. We're going to be transparent and honest together because I believe that that is what everybody is owed, and I think it's more valuable. I've heard this a lot over a long period of time. And here's what I can tell you, that when people come into our certification program who say, I'm only doing this to get the credential because I've already been doing it for 20 years. When they leave us, the first piece of feedback that we see on their surveys, almost 100% of the time, is I thought I was doing arts integration and I was not doing anything close to arts integration. Not to say that the work that they've been doing for 20 years hasn't been amazing work of integrating content and topics and making connections, but most times it's been an arts enhancement at best. Maybe some theme-based instruction here and there, but the alignment of standards, the taking a look at the cognitive demand level of our students, this is where the results come from. I keep talking about these results. When I talk about results, I'm talking about the 40 years worth of research that we have on arts integration that tell us things like, in general, students who experience arts integrated lessons and opportunities see a rise in student achievement test scores, sometimes up to 10 to 20%, depending on their background. We see a lowering of classroom disruptions, an increase in classroom attendance, and an increase in parental involvement in a positive way. Okay, so how do you get those results? You have to do it with a process of arts integration that goes beyond just having the arts be in service of another content area. It's not just about making the learning sticky, although that is important. It's also about making those true connections across standards, deepening a learning experience. And if we align that with the cognitive demand so that our students are working at the same level in each area, you start to see applications of learning and creativity that you don't see in other methods, if you will. So I promise you that if you think you've been doing this for a really long time, you have, and we can extend and deepen what you've done before and take it to a whole new level. Now, if you're thinking, certification doesn't matter, I've been doing this, I don't need a certificate to prove that. You don't. You don't. But I will tell you that 86% of administrators, we've surveyed them, find people who have the credential more credible than those who just say, I'm an arts integration specialist and I've been doing this for 20 years. So if you are looking for job opportunities and you're looking to take that next step, if you are in competition with somebody who has a certificate, I'm telling you, it matters. So keep that in mind. I'm not saying, again, I'm not saying that people who have been doing this for a long time haven't really been doing it. What I'm saying is that probably you can still take what you've done and build upon it in a really meaningful way. Number 3, arts integration takes too much time. I don't have time for it. This is one that we hear a lot, and here's my thing about time. We make time for things that are important. So when we say, I don't have time for that, what that truly means, what we're really saying is, I don't value that enough in order to prioritize it in the time that I have. And that's okay. If you are not yet to the point where this is something that's valuable enough to use on a daily basis. But if you are intrigued by the results that you can get from arts integration and you're passionate about bringing creative experiences to students, and you know that the more you create with students, the more relationship you build with them, the deeper their learning goes, then time is not going to be an issue. Now, practically speaking, here's what that means. When we use arts integration effectively, we are not adding one more thing to the plate. We are simply rearranging what's currently on the plate and mixing it together. So think about this. Instead of having mashed potatoes and peas and carrots in their separate spaces on your plate, and then trying to heap some more peas on the plate and more carrots on the plate, which is what we typically ask teachers to do, right? Just put some more on there. Or maybe, can we throw a little dinner roll on there yet? Is there enough space to fit that in there and squeeze that on? Right? Instead of doing that, what we're asking instead is, let's take the pile of peas and the pile of carrots and mix them together, right? Because it's a better experience to have them together than maybe alone. I typically like things separated on my plate, but that's beyond the point. You get what I mean. It's a mix in. So when we use arts integration effectively, we're not taking more time. We're actually saving time. People who use arts integration actually save time in their curriculum. They finish their curriculum before others who are working on a pacing guide, which don't get me started on pacing guides, right? Here's why. They're taking the ineffective lessons, the ones that we do on repeat, and we do like 4 extension lessons and review lessons to be able to teach a concept. They take those 4 lessons out and they replace it with 1 arts integration lesson. They have saved themselves 3 days worth of work. That 1 arts integration lesson is going to capture and the learning much more effectively. It's going to help things click for students who work in that realm, and you're not going to be beating your head against the wall. So it's a more joyful experience for everyone. I mean, who doesn't want that, right? So when we say it's not enough time, think about there is enough time because, and here's how I know that, because there are people who are doing it. Right? Every time I tell myself I don't have time for something, I notice there are still people out in the world who do have time for that. How is that possible? Well, it's because they've made it a priority, right? So think about, is this your year to make this a priority? And if it is, we can teach you how to make time bend. I literally have an entire bonus in the certification platform called Time Bender. And I can teach you how to button up your productivity, fill in those time leaks that are happening, and actually create more time for the things that you're going to enjoy. Okay, number 4, this won't work because you haven't done it since COVID. I was kind of flabbergasted when I got this one. That could not be more further from the truth. Now, here's the thing. Have I been a classroom teacher since COVID? No. No. And I do not proclaim that I have been. Have I substituted in classes since COVID? Yes. So I do know that what it's like in classrooms, and I know how overburdened you are and that students are different. Here's what I can tell you though. Arts integration is a methodology. It's a philosophy. It's a way of teaching. It's not a quick fix. It's not a band-aid. It's not like the next best thing or the next shiny object that we're looking for in order for all students to achieve, right? This is a way of teaching. It's a practice. Much like differentiation is a practice. So it doesn't matter what has happened since. I promise you, I've used this when I've substituted. I've been left a lesson. The kids got bored. They were fidgeting. They were all over the place. I substituted it with an arts integrated experience. Suddenly everybody's online, on task, on learning, right? Hands-on, minds-on learning with students. And it's amazing to watch. So I don't buy that because since COVID and kids are different, this isn't going to work. Again, we have hundreds of alumni. They're out there doing the work. We have been asking them since 2020, is this still working? Are you still seeing success? And 100% of the time, it's a yes. So yes, arts integration still works even after COVID. And then the last myth is kind of a catch-all of a couple of things. There's no jobs for this. My admin won't support this. I can't get buy-in from anybody else. This is what I call the I can't because bucket, right? Of things that we think of, because I think arts integration can be a little scary if we're not sure of how to do it or if we haven't had a lot of experience in it. So let's bust a couple of these. First of all, the idea that there's no jobs for that. I did an entire 30-minute showcase on Tuesday of the job possibilities that exist. There are so many. Please watch it. But there are certainly jobs for people who have these skills and are working in this kind of process. So that's a bust. Okay, no buy-in. This one is very real. If you are working in a school that, especially in a culture that does not value the arts or creativity and or does not value you as an educator and your decision-making process for what works for your learners, creating buy-in is going to be really difficult. Okay, that said, we have an entire sprint. We call each of the sections in our certification program sprints. We have an entire sprint about how to build buy-in, how to overcome resistance. And many of our alumni tell us that this is the thing that when they went out, they used right away. We give you a lot of support in this area because it is something that many of us struggle with. First of all, if that is the case for you, if that's what you're struggling with right now, I am so sorry that you are not in a place that values you and creativity and the possibilities that it can open. Because here's the thing. Creativity is the superpower of the future. In a world of AI, creativity and critical thinking are going to be the things that set us apart. And the people who use it now are going to be the ones who are successful. So if you're in an environment that does not value that yet, move on. Try to find a different spot, if at all possible. But if that's not possible, we do have tools that you can use that can build buy-in over time. It is not a quick and easy thing. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of patience. But there are ways that we can work with one another and build respect and build rapport and build trust and buy-in over time. So it's not that it's impossible. We just have to be ready for it. So we have tools that will help you with buy-in. And then the idea that my administrator doesn't support this. We also spend a lot of time in Sprint 4 talking about how to work with administrators. Here's the thing. I have a master's degree in administration, and so I speak that language a bit. And working with administrators is simply about trying to find out what it is that that administrator values and how they need to see it, and then being able to showcase what it is that you're trying to promote within the values that that administrator has and in the language that they speak. And so we teach you and how to unpack that, how to decipher it, and how to then work with those administrators in a way that is a positive experience for both of you. So I promise you that the program has the tools that you need in order to bust through those myths that I've just outlined today. If you have been holding on to any of those, I hope that today's session has helped you kind of rethink some of that. I do not ever want to diminish anyone's personal experience and anything that you may have had happen with arts integration in the past that have some questions now. But I do like to highlight what is possible, because I want to share with you something. I found this the other day. First of all, if you were on our pages at all yesterday, you saw that a memory popped up for me that 13 years ago yesterday, the little school that I started our first arts integration pilot with was awarded our award from the John F. Kennedy Center for Arts Education and Arts Integration for the state of Maryland 13 years ago today. And since then, I have been able to expand that internationally to all of these people and offer this kind of a certification program to show you what we did, to show you how I built that. And not only that program, but a program at the district's level, with all of the vertical alignment and everything else that goes with it. And then through a system that has been proven over a decade. So it was really exciting for me to see that yesterday and think about where I was 13 years ago. And interestingly enough, this is me from back in 2013. So just a little over 11 years ago. And at that point, I was teaching a lesson on angles and dance. And I was actually working with another teacher. I was co-teaching this lesson. And I remember thinking it can't get any better than this, because the students were just completely engaged, and I loved being in the room, and I loved the collaboration with the teacher, and everything was just going amazing. And I kept thinking, it can't get better than this. This is what education is meant to be. This is where I'm meant to be. And what I can tell you is that the journey for the last 11 years from this to what I'm doing now has been incredible. It's been challenging. It's been super rewarding. But it was never predictable. And so if I were to go back and look at this Susan and tell her, you have no idea. You have no idea what's possible yet. Just keep going. And so my advice to you is, if you are considering arts integration certification, and we've been around for a while, so we have a lot of people who think about this for a couple of years, right? They see it come out and they're like, oh, maybe next year, or, oh, I would love to do that, but maybe just not right now. So if you've been thinking about it for a while and you're wondering if this is your year, I can tell you time doesn't slow down. That 11 years went like this. But the minute that I was able to move forward in arts integration and connect with so many other people, build this framework and share it with so many others, I wouldn't trade it for the world. And so if this is your next step, if this is the door that opens it for you, then I would invite you to come on in and apply. Be sure to get it in before Monday. That's when we close applications for this enrollment season. And you can go to artsintegration.com/certification, get all the details, look at everything, make sure that it's going to be a good fit for you. But if you've got that little thing inside going, oh, I think I could do this, I want you to apply. It doesn't cost anything to apply. We will be completely honest with you if this is not a good fit. We have right now, our acceptance rate sits at around 85%, but we have had, we've told people this is not the right fit for you right now. So we're going to be honest if it's not a good fit. So you literally have nothing to lose to apply. But if you've got that little knowing, I don't want you to put it off for another year. You deserve better than to wait for another year. So if that is your knowing, I want to encourage you, fill out that application. You have no idea the possibilities that are waiting for you around that corner. Thank you so much for joining me for these small trainings. I hope that they have been helpful, and I look forward to seeing your application come in. If you've got any questions at all, please pop them in the comments. We will monitor those and answer them as soon as we see them. So thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you in certification.